had a conversation with him back there as well. And I told him how much I appreciated him helping me with this and hosting the first L&M tour as we've come to pull it together. And I also recognize when you step out, you know, there are others that will come and pursue you and attack you for whatever reason, just like at times when I stepped out in leadership roles. But being the person that he is, someone who understands what his mission in life is and his faith, which is what drives me as well, he has stepped forward, and I do appreciate it. I want to put a blanket over this afternoon by saying, this is Malcolm. Forget about Senator Smith, forget about, you know, who was a minority leader or that guy. Just, this is Malcolm. And Malcolm is here to have a conversation with you. And part of what generated this moment was I sat down with an individual, and I won't get into the name, but they came up with about 5 or 6 things that someone had told them that I had done or was involved with, all of which was untrue. Not even one had some truth to it. It was all untrue. And so, and Pastor was there, and after that meeting occurred, you know, we sat and we chatted. We said, you know something? And this is a political person. This is someone who has a lot of political background. They've been involved in campaigns from statewide to citywide campaigns, and they ran off 5 different things that they heard that I was doing or have done. None of it was true. So at that point, we put our heads together and we said, you know what? We need to move around the community and have these conversations. And I think the pastor's right. It doesn't hurt for everybody to have these kind of conversations so that people recognize exactly where people are. So I'm really looking forward to the questions. And just as Pastor said, unfortunately, as you know, the legal case that I'm involved with, I cannot respond. My lawyers advised me not to. I would love to have a conversation about it, but I cannot. And I'm sure at appropriate time, I will be able to, you know, as the process moves forward. But wanted to have this conversation today with everybody here so you can know who Malcolm is, what I've been about. There's so much that has been done throughout the community that we've been involved with, but I'm really looking forward to a lot of the questions from when I've run for office, what my position has been. A lot of people have said to me, well, Malcolm, when he was running for mayor, was you going to become a Republican? I heard that in every newspaper. He's running to be a Republican. Well, the truth of the matter is, when I run for office, and Catherine James can tell you, when I ran for Senate 5 different times, I had every line. I had the Republican line, I had the Democratic line, the conservative line, the Working Family Party line, so there was nothing new. It wasn't like there was something that was brand new for me to do. This was something that I've done. And the reason why I've done that is what Pastor had talked about, is because when you represent a community, your job is to produce for that community. You cannot run for office and say, well, I'm not going to talk to this group because they're in that group. Or I'm not going to talk to this person because they belong to that organization. That's how our community loses. Our community wins when we can all sit down and talk. In other communities, whether it is communities of non-color, white communities, or a Jewish community, Italian communities, Hispanic communities, they talk across the table. Only in our community do we say, well, if you're a Republican, I can't talk to you. If you're a Democrat, I can't talk to you. Or you with the Working Family Party, I don't want to be in the same room with you. Or you're the Conservative Party. The bottom line is, bus services that run up and down Southeast Queens don't care what party you're in. Schools that are in our neighborhood don't care what party you're in. The baseball field that's over there by St. Albans Park that I built when I was in the private sector, they didn't care whether I was Democrat or Republican. Doesn't matter. The fact that your college is now the one location in this borough that is the Startup New York program that allows for jobs to be created in Southeast Queens has nothing to do with party. What it has to do with is job creation. So when I was pursuing the mayoralty, I was pursuing it because I felt that in Southeast Queens, which is one of the strongest African American communities in this city, why couldn't we have somebody from this area pursue that seat? Nothing wrong with that. I would hope that from what our young people saw, that they themselves would also go out there and say, you know what, maybe one day I could be mayor. Maybe one day I can be governor. Maybe one day I can be president. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Our young people today are sold too short. They're sold to think that ambition is not a good thing. Ambition is a good thing. So we're doing this tour. We're going to be doing it all around the district. We're going to be talking to people from Ozone Park to Cambria Heights to Rosedale to Rochdale. If individuals want me to come beyond the district, it doesn't matter. That is the one credo that my office lives by and always has. We don't care where you're from. We've helped people in Suffolk County. We've helped them in Syracuse, New York. We've helped them in Buffalo to Brooklyn to Southeast Queens. And while we represent Southeast Queens and we're proud of it, and I've been here for 13 years and have tremendous records of doing things here, progressive things, I am also here to say that my mission in life, the one that God has bestowed on me and which drives me every day, is to help. That's why it doesn't matter for me where people are ideologically. That's up to them. But if I know I can do something to help Catherine and James, if I know I can do something to help the Furtado brothers, if I know that I can do something that's going to help Sister Susan, I'm going to go out there and do it. I don't care what party they're from. I don't care what color they are. That's my mission in life. One of the most challenging things a person has to determine is what their purpose and mission is in life. That is a very challenging thing. It's very difficult to do it, and when you recognize it, once you find out what that is, you should continue to pursue it. I know mine. I was blessed. At a very early age, my mother explained it to me very simply, and I'm going to share the story. I was around 14 years old. I'll never forget this. I had come from a family of 7 people, 5 sisters and a brother. I was in my kitchen, sitting down to eat some breakfast. My mother walked in the room, which was unusual for my household, because when you have 7 people, you're never alone with your mother. But that particular day, she walked into the kitchen, and she said to me, "Malcolm, what would you do if I wasn't here anymore?" And I said, this is my mother telling me this. At 14, I'm traumatized. I said, "You know, Mom, I'm not going to talk to nobody ever again in life." And she said, "Well, Malcolm, you can't do that." And I said, "Well, why not?" She said, "Because my mother had me at a very late age. She had me at the age of 42. She had all girls prior to that. She told me I had promised God if I had a son that he would do 2 things. 1, he would maintain his Christian faith. And 2, he would work throughout his life to help other people improve their lives." So that was it for me at 14. I knew it then. And I continue to do so. And so that's why when people ask me about public office, this is not a desire just to be important. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what God has told me to do in life, and I try to do the best that I can each and every day. Now, do I make judgments sometimes that some people will question? Sure they do. But my judgments have always been based on what is best for the community that I represent. And sometimes when you step out far on faith, they come after you. There are elected officials in Southeast Queens in which almost every single one of them have had some type of investigation for whatever reason. I don't know. But the bottom line is that's not going to stop me from performing, because I live by my faith. And trust me, as one pastor once told me, you might be in trouble now, but there'll be something greater later. And I'm not worried about it. But I wanted to have this tour because I need you to ask your questions. Ask your questions about why certain things are happening, why I may have done certain things, choices that I made, joining the Independent Democratic Conference. And I quote the Independent Democratic Conference. Why did I do that? Because as someone who was in leadership, I was the first African American to become president of the state Senate in the history of the Senate since 1868 when it was discovered. So I clearly understood what you can do as being in leadership in terms of bringing resources to your community, in terms of having the ability to pass legislation and programs. So when they formed this new hybrid of leadership, and I think it's important that you know that, this was a new form of leadership, this coalition. The first question I had to ask myself was, what does that mean for the district that I represent? And then when I decided to think about what I was going to do, the coalition was formed already. The myth that is out there that everybody spoke about was that when Malcolm joined the Independent Democrats, that was it for us becoming the majority. Well, that's a myth, because the 4 individuals who had joined with the Republican Party had already formed the coalition. It was done. Whether I joined or not, it wouldn't have mattered. But the myth that is out there was, oh no, Malcolm made them turn. Well, that's not true. What happened was when they came to me, and I said, well, now there's a hybrid of a leadership vacuum here, and there's a new leadership vacuum. How am I going to be effective? How do I go back to my community who has known of what I've done in leadership and brought resources back? How do I go back to them and say, I now can't do anything? Because if you understand Albany, and their other myth that is out there, is people will say, well, you know, if you're not involved in the committee, or if you're not involved in this project, you get nothing done. Well, let's be real clear about it. If you are in the minority in Albany, you can't do nothing. And I'm telling you like it is, because I've been there for 13 years. So anybody that tells you, well, if you're in a minority and you're on the committee, you can do something, they're lying to you. You can't do nothing in the minority. You can't pass legislation. You can't introduce legislation. Your vote doesn't matter in the committee, because everything goes to leadership. So the question that I had to deal with at that moment was, do I sit back and be in a position to do nothing after being there for 13 years and also being in leadership? Or do I make a conscious decision to try to bring some resources to my district? Amen. So I made the conscious decision. And while I was in that leadership role, let me just give you a few examples of what happened so you understand how important that is. One of the biggest challenges we had in this city was the Sandy storm. And we're still suffering for that. Because I had joined that coalition, I became co-chair of the Sandy task force that was overseeing billions of dollars that was coming to New York City. In addition to that, again, right here at home, Southern Queens Park had been denied summer youth slots over the last 4 years because they had some challenges there, legal challenges as well. In being a part of that coalition, I was able to bring those job slots back to Southern Queens. 350 youth were hired last summer that had not been hired for 5 years. What I told you about York College. In the city of New York, there are only 5 Startup New York programs in the city of New York. 1 in each borough. 1. Because of that, I was able to get Startup New York for downtown Jamaica, which is a program that just began last year. And that's happening now. Furtado Brothers are sitting back there. We had a program we created called SNUG, Anti-Gang Gun Violence Program. Program was able to bring $500,000 to Southeast Queens. In this year's budget that is not even passed yet, I already got $3 million in the budget for the SNUG program, which is going statewide. So I point those out to say that you have to know strategically what to do in Albany. Albany is different from City Hall, different from Washington. You can't be a one-party person and get things done in Albany. It's just not the same. And unfortunately, when the media reports what goes on in Albany and City Council and Washington, we get a picture as though they all function the same. They don't. You have to know what goes on in Albany. You cannot just go up there and say, I'm going to make things happen because I'm a senator. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to have strategic relationships. Relationships that allow you to bring things back. JCAP. Program dealing with our veterans, dealing with those who were formerly substance abuse. You can talk to Diane Gonzalez. $200,000 toward that program. All of these things happen because of relationships. It happens because of being able to cross party lines. And it happens because you can be smart enough and big enough to say that I'm going to do what's best for my community and not just do what's best for my ego. And that's what I've done. That's all I've done. So these tours are about explaining that. You're going to make up your mind come September when these primaries come up. And that's your right. But I'm not here to ask you anything other than to be able to ask you questions so you can be clear about who I am and what I stand for. I have nothing to hide. I've never had anything to hide. And I will continue to do that because I've lived here all my life. I've raised my son, my daughter here. I have a grandchild, God bless. I just had a grandson now, who's 2 years old. I've been here all my life. From the time that I was born, I've been here. So I'm part of Southeast Queens. I've watched it come about. I remember when there was a John's Barber store on Linden Boulevard. I remember there was a Gans Gap on Linden Boulevard. I remember when the pathmark that we have down here wasn't even pathmark. I remember we didn't have a school on 234th Street, the public school that's there now. I remember when Poor Freddy's was Poor Freddy. And Poor Freddy had a big old sign on Springfield and Merritt, that's right. And Poor Freddy had no home at all. Poor Freddy had no house in Bricktown. About this wide. You know, so I've been here all my life. I know the good and the bad. I've seen the transition. And I've seen pastors like yourself that are here, Pastor Craig that is here, and I've seen you pour your heart out into this community. So you just need to know that Malcolm Smith is only here, one, because God has allowed me to, and two, because of you. So I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm a man. I'm not perfect. You know, I'm human. Have I made mistakes in life? Absolutely, I made mistakes. I made mistakes that I wish I could change. You know, there's times when I pray and ask for God to order my steps, and sometimes I've witnessed the steps, and sometimes you know how it is, you will make that the step. And then you go back and say, you know what, you know that wasn't the right step. Yeah, I've been there. I've made those errors as well. I'm not going to lie to you. But I've never made errors which were going to be detrimental to this community. And all I ask is that as we go through this, even those that are thinking about running for this seat, just don't hurt me. Don't hurt me and my family. You know, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. You know, if you have the ambition to run for office, God bless you. You have that right. I was young and I ran for office too. But this is not about us hurting each other. Because at the end of the day, watch what is going on around this city. Harlem is no longer Harlem. And if you see what's going on in downtown Brooklyn, if you see where even Spike Lee had to talk about what's going on in Greenpoint, well, the only community that at this point has control of itself, because we own our stuff, is Southeast Queens. And how you destabilize the community? You destabilize the political structure. After you destabilize the political structure, you destabilize the economic structure. And that's what is happening. In Harlem, they destabilized the political structure. It took the Gang of Four out. After that, then the economic structure was destabilized, and now you walk into Harlem, and it's now the UN. In Brooklyn, you can see it. We down in downtown Brooklyn the other day. They got skyscrapers going up. Spike Lee had to make a statement the other day that got him in trouble about Greenpoint. But the process and the scheme is always the same. You start destabilizing your Southeast Queens political structure, the economic structure comes next, and then before you know it, we don't have our community anymore. I'm not going to let that happen. We've got to make sure that we work together as a family, as a team. We may not always agree, but clearly there's a mission that we have. If it's about our kids, if it's about tomorrow, if it's about making sure that they do more than just tweet, but they talk, and they do more than Google, but they deal with God, we will find out that the community will be a better place. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. Questions anyone has, I'm more than happy to answer.
I can walk with the mic if anybody.